Oilers, quite a bit at the hands of the man himself, Connor McDavid. We'll break all that down on today's episode, and we'll grieve a little bit together as the Arizona Coyotes take yet another loss. All on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn, Leaño. Carl Pavlock is right beside me. I'm actually right here live from Gila River Arena doing this post-game show. Carl Pavlock, you were at the game. You are now back home.
Yes.
Let's go and just dive straight into this game. It was not a pretty one.
This is the first Coyotes game of the season, and it's still early, so I'm sure I'll say this again. This is the first trash fire of the year. Just an absolute garbage game. More so than the blowout losses to the Columbus Blue Jackets and St. Louis Blues. This is probably the worst game that the Coyotes have played so far.
Absolutely. It was just a overall bad game. They just weren't there defensively. They had no answer to Connor McDavid. I mean, yes, Connor McDavid is like a live cheat code. He is one of the best players in the game, but still, like, man.
Well, not even like defensively, because that was definitely a problem, but offensively as well. The Coyotes could not find their footing. They could not score against a backup goaltender with a extremely weak Edmonton or defense. Like, I do not know how like it got to the point where they're like just were not able to score. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, because they had so many opportunities. I'm actually going to try to see if I can bring up the natural stat trick page, and I mean, yes, the Oilers had a higher Corsi, but looking at it, scoring chances, they were 17 scoring chances.
I mean, what were the shots on goal? Like, it felt like the Coyotes were leading shots on goal for like most of the game.
It was, let's see, shots for, it was 23-24 in favor of the Oilers, but that they were pretty neck and neck. It was 8-11 after the first period in favor of Arizona. So yes, the Coyotes had more opportunities, and it seemed that way. They just couldn't capitalize, and I do kind of have to give it a little bit of credit to Mikko Koskinen. He had a pretty decent game, but I mean, you got to do better than that.
Yeah, I mean, and like Koskinen, like he played really well, I will say, but he was also leaving the crease a lot. He was like wandering quite a bit. Like, that's the kind of goalie that the Coyotes should have taken advantage of, but they absolutely did not. The offense completely fell apart this game. And again, this is not like an elite team. This is the Edmonton Oilers. They are extremely weak on defense. The Coyotes could have countered like whatever they were doing, but they didn't. They just kind of like weren't able to produce, and it was extremely frustrating in the stands. I can only imagine like how frustrating it was for the guys on the ice, but it was just a bad game. And like the first really, I would say, bad game of the season. Like, again, more so than any other game, more so than the blowouts. This was just a game that the Coyotes could have won, that they should have done like decently with, and they just didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything, and that's the part that sucks the most, because I'm trying to think of pieces that I liked, and there's a few that I want to mention. I'll mention later in the episode, and I'll actually mention a player, but I won't mention his good part until later. And I'll say this: so that first goal for Edmonton, that was like Zach Hyman just walked through Dyson Mayo, and you can tell that it was Dyson Mayo's first NHL game. A kid from the AHL coming up, like not entirely there, but like oh man, you got to get back.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely like completely out of nowhere. I remember like I didn't have the best angle from it just because of the seats I was in. Like there was definitely some issues with that, but like it was a bad goal to give up, but like it was late in the first. It's something that the team could have recovered from, and they just failed to do that. They just kind of like I don't know. They couldn't mount a response at all this game.
They could not at all. I mean, I think at one point, the Coyotes did get one goal, and that was like, early in the third period. But I think at that point it was too late. I think they already started to feel a little down.
Yeah, I mean, I I will say this. I had to uh, leave between the second and third to make sure that we're recording this on time, to make sure that the recap is done. But I was not the only one leaving. Like fans had already left. I sometimes feel like if the team could have left, they would have. Very rarely do I experience that where it's just like they're not giving up, but they've accepted that this is going to be a defeat, and I feel like that was the case with this one. Like early in the third, sure, that's great. Like you're getting the goal, Desimeo getting his first of his career. That should be a moment of celebration. But like when you're already down, like like there was just no coming back, and I felt like that was kind of like everyone knew that.
Yeah, at that point, everyone knew that, especially when special teams was not all there either. Special teams was really bad. You had generated barely any changes on the power play, and your penalty kill, let's be honest, was actually just atrocious.
Uh, which again, like if this is an Edmonton team, they're playing their backup goaltender. They're playing like they have a bad defense. Like the power play should be able to do something, but they could not.
They couldn't, and again, that's one of the main reasons why they lost.
Yeah.
And again, 5-1 is not good. I think both you and I had this a much closer game. Like I even said, take the points. Take the points. Arizona will can handle it, especially because this team should be hungry. They know what's coming ahead of them too. They know tough part of schedule is coming ahead of them, and we'll also talk about that later in this episode. But oh my God,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I will say is like potentially this was an issue where the Edmonton Oilers like were rallying around a backup goaltender. We do see that sometimes, like across all sports. Like you see that sometimes with like backup quarterbacks in football. But like this should have been like the Coyotes game. They should have been the ones who had all of the energy. They did not. They just kind of faltered, and it was really unfortunate to watch.
it was really unfortunate to watch. We'll continue to break all this game down. We will we'll dive more into maybe some of the good things if we can take much out of it, and then just go from there. Maybe take a look ahead also later in the episode. We'll get to all that in just a sec. But first, I'm going to let you guys know that today's episode brought to you by Built Bar. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There is something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they are definitely passionate about their favorites. If you don't know all the flavors, you are missing out. From coconut to mint brownie, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, German chocolate, and more. One of my favorites out there is the churro puff. There's another puff flavor that just came out, Paranormal Pumpkin, also really, really good. And I invite you guys to try it yourself. Go to built.com, and if you use the promo code LOCKED15, you get 15% off your order. Once again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, so let's try to now take some of the good stuff out of this game if we can. And I'll just go ahead and point to the easy thing here, and that is, Dyson Mayo, the kid getting his first career NHL goal in his first game, his NHL debut. We talked about him being, the liability defensively in that first period, but you know what? He kind of made up for it for that goal in a little bit, because everyone loves to see a kid in their debut game get a goal.
Yeah. Victor Soderstrom that's tough to say. Victor Soderstrom sat for his first game this season. So Dyson Mayo got the start. He had that kind of defensive lapse. He looked a little bit green, but getting his first goal in his first game, that's really impressive. Hopefully we can see a little bit more of him this season, and the next coming seasons. Like I thought he did really well.
It was a pretty nice goal too, in the slot, top shelf. You know, I mean, for an AHL kid, you love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we have like specifically pulled his name as the defensive liability in the first period. I do not feel like that is indicative of him being the responsible party for this loss.
No.
No, not at all. I just want to make sure because I often like when I'm writing, I think about that where it's like I'm talking about this person specifically. I hope people don't think that it's his fault because that's usually not the case. Usually it's a full team effort, and I would say that was the issue with this game.
I mean, you can point to the 2-on-1 easy breakout that sparked their second goal, or any of the plays that involved Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Like especially on the power play, like with a goal in like 8 seconds. Like there were so many other problems for the Coyotes defensively that you definitely don't fault Dyson Mayo for that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this was a 5-1 loss. Like offensively, the team did nothing. Like especially against a team that we talked about in the preview for this game. Like they're weak defensively, they're weak on goaltending. This should have been like a situation where if you can gain control of the offensive zone, you could make something happen. Just keep applying the pressure. But they did not do that.
They did not, and I think that's one. Again, one of the main reasons why they lost. It was. I'm just kind of going through some of my notes here, and it's. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's.
Yeah. There was plenty of moments where I thought that the Coyotes like could have scored and it may be like a little bit of bad puck luck too, because that's the thing that we see in hockey where if the puck had gone like just a half an inch one way or the other, like it could have been a goal and that could have changed the entire momentum of a game. It just didn't happen, and when you're not getting that puck luck, you need to work twice as hard. You need to force it to happen, and this is not a team that is able to do that right now. And I doubt they will be able to do that throughout the season. But this was just the worst case scenario of a bad team with bad luck just having a bad game.
That's sad to see that if we could take any other positives out of this. It's really hard out of a loss like this.
How do you think the Vizmelka did?
I think he played as best as he could for the situation he was put in.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, am I going to say he had am I going to say he stood out? Absolutely not. He had a hard game. He had a tough game. I'm not going to lie. But I'm looking, trying to look at some of the stats here. Let's see. Yeah. Ooh, it's getting dark here. Yeah, I mean.
So, one of the things that I was talking about with Carter Hutton is that he needs to sometimes make saves that you do not expect a goaltender to make. And I feel like Vizmelka today didn't make those saves as well, but he stood well enough. This was a game where he would have need to really stood on his head to have a chance for the Coyotes to win. He got no support in front of him, which again has been an issue with this team. We're early on, this is our fourth game, but there's been a consistent issue with the team not showing up for the goaltender.
See, want to know what I think the huge issue is?
Sure.
And I'll point it out to you. It's I think this is definitely a personnel issue. Look at these defensive pairs. Tell me what's wrong with this.
Uh,
Dyson Mayo. I mean, again, we talked about him multiple times, but on the second pair,
yeah.
like a second pair D man. I mean, yes, he's.
Although I will say this, because I do think that's a phenomenal point. But earlier this week, would be yesterday from when we're recording, I was talking with the guys from Copper and Blue, the SB Nation site for the Edmonton Oilers. They asked why Clayton Keller was on the third line for the previous game. He was on the first line today. And
Exactly.
like pairings and lines, they just do not mean anything for the Coyotes, really. And maybe they do at training camp, or maybe they do like in practice, but like for like fans or like people trying to evaluate it, like there's no telling what like a second pairing defenseman means for the Coyotes. There's no telling what a third line means for the Coyotes. It's all kind of a amorphous blob.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I think the defensive pairs mean a little bit more than the offense. Like offensive lines are, that's more of a blob.
Sure.
Defensive pairs actually mean something. I think. I mean, especially because there's. I mean, you can do a lot with the defense and where they go, and obviously it does make a difference with time played, especially if you look at Jacob Chikrin being that number one guy. Like,
Sure.
but even then, Chikrin has also been struggling too. Like, I don't think they've been offering getting Chikrin enough opportunities as he'd like.
Yeah. No, I think Chikrin is used to playing like a little bit more of a sheltered role, like with Oliver Ekman-Larsson on the team. Like, I don't think Tocchet liked him. I don't think he liked his play style, but he would still like put him at the top minutes. Like even when he was underperforming, like you would put Oliver Ekman-Larsson on the ice with Connor McDavid, and it would like not necessarily like be an effective counter for McDavid because he's one of the best players in the league, but it like is somewhat decent. And then that gave Chikrin like the opportunity to get like a little bit better like sheltered minutes, like second pairing defenseman, like getting those opportunities. He's not getting those right now. I think it's gonna like frustrate him as he adjusts to like the role that the team needs him to play as the top guy, because he is the top guy on this team. And I also think that this is a great example of why the team didn't make him captain this year, because that's like just would be an extra thing to throw on a guy who's already like maybe struggling a little bit out of the gate to like adjust to like top pairing duties.
Exactly. I mean, those are. I mean, as a lot of things that we can take out of this game. For those who want to know a little bit more on the other side, Connor McDavid obviously had 2 goals. I just looked at his stats. 200 now on the season for him. I'm not in the season, I mean, on the career for him. Like,
I was gonna say that's a lot.
that's a lot for the season. 200 for his career. I mean, again, did it already surprise this guy's like a walk-in cheat code.
Yeah.
He was like his presence was felt tonight. Absolutely.
Nugent Hopkins looks like he had 3 points, all assists, which good night for him as well.
2 goals for Zach Hyman. Like,
yeah, I mean, if Zach Hyman's scoring 2 goals, that's
a problem. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Hey, Carl, you're. Oh, this is live, guys. We got probably we're gonna have technical issues all the time. It's gonna happen. There we go. I hear you.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, cool. For a bit, my bars weren't showing. Sorry about that. Got some technical issues. But yeah, no, it was not a good game all around. I think there was a lot of issues. Yeah, it's just really frustrating.
It was really frustrating, and man, that's. I'm just trying to think of anything else I got to add on here. One more thing I will say too is the attendance on this. If you saw, if did you see the what the announced attendance was for this? Just under
I
ten
did.
thousand. I mean, people don't want to see this team lose.
They don't. It's something that I will say this. Uh, uh, I have asthma. It's something that I've struggled with my entire life, which has made me very nervous dealing with things that are going on right now with COVID. Um, the Coyotes have not issued any kind of mask mandate. They haven't done anything with vaccination. Um, it makes me nervous to go to games where there's a bunch of people like not taking safety precautions for this kind of thing. And I think that's just one of the things that I'd like to see the Coyotes do something about that. I think some people, like myself, who have health issues, would like to see the team actually announce something, which
Yeah,
they didn't. It's frustrating to see in after over a year of COVID, people walking around not wearing masks, not having any kind of vaccination site, not even having the safety protocols they had last year in games.
the pods
That's
and
frustrating.
masks and stuff like that. It was different. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
had to download an app and check in, and they did temperature checks and just any kind of safety thing, which did not happen like during
I mean,
preseason.
I
It
will
didn't
say
happen at the
this.
game.
To get into the game, we had, for press, we do have to be vaccinated. We do have to wear masks.
Yeah,
But that's my experience here, being here, here in Gila River, as everyone still cleans up, and
yeah.
it's an interesting experience being at a sports arena after hours when everything's gone.
I mean, I worked in a movie theater once, and I remember working in movie theaters after hours, when the show is done. It's definitely an interesting experience.
Absolutely. But let's get enough of tonight and let's move on to Saturday. They got a little bit of time off. You got some time to reflect. Arizona has got another game coming up. And it's against the Islanders. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But first, let's get another word from our sponsors.
All right, so we're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, so now, Carl, let's take a look at the week ahead for the Arizona Coyotes, and they have one more home game of this homestand. They be hosting the Islanders, which I'm not sure what to make of yet. But then they probably have one of the hardest road trips they're ever going to have of this season to Florida, Tampa Bay, DC, Carolina, and Philadelphia, and then cap it off at Anaheim. This is a tough road trip, but let's focus first on the Islanders game. A little bit first. What are maybe some of the expectations, some changes you want to hope to see before they take their the final game of this homestand against New York?
I mean, it's tough because, I would just like to see some consistency amongst this team. I don't even know who they're gonna put in net for this game.
Yeah,
Like Vishmelka has performed the best, but that's a rough loss. Do you want to put him in right away? The team seems to be going back and forth between him and Hutton. in a way to keep both of them fresh. Like, do you put Hutton in? Like, I don't know. Like, neither has really established themselves as a goaltender who can like really do anything. And the Islanders, like, it's another tough team to like face off against.
It is another tough team to face off against, but it will also be a not a homecoming because it's not in New York, but it is it's Andrew Ladd going up against his former team. We'll
Yeah.
see how he acts there. We'll see how that one goes down. I think it might be interesting.
I mean, we
Again,
saw Max Domi like in the first game of the season, like just like play his heart out against the Coyotes.
mhm.
Like, I feel like if there's anyone in this world who is going to be like giving it their all against the Islanders, it's Andrew Ladd, like probably
Es-
more so than John Tavares.
especially based off how that trade went down, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, they essentially just gave Andrew Ladd away.
yeah. They gave him away, like they completely counted him out, and he clearly like was ready to play. Like, and I'm sure like throughout the season, like he was like giving him updates on his rehabilitation. He was like, "Hey, this is where I'm at now. This is where I'm at now. I think I can go." And he like so far has been like okay. Like, I think this is the kind of game where he's just like, I have something to prove against these guys because they let me go, and I think I should have still been there.
Exactly. So I think paying attention to Andrew Ladd for that might be a good one to pay attention to because again, like I want to see him have a good game for that one. Anyone else that you want to pay attention to in the game against New York?
Honestly, the game against New York, and this is one of those rare situations where I will say, if you are playing badly against New York, that is a problem because this needs to be a bounce back game for every single player in the team, like from top to bottom, fourth line to first line, whatever that means for the Coyotes. Like, you need to be having the best game of your season this Saturday against the New York Islanders. You have not won. This is the first homestand. Like, it's the fifth game of the season. Like, everyone needs to be giving it 110%.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I tried looking on our friends at betonline.ag if lines are available yet for tomorrow's game. They are not.
Mm.
So we, so I won't make my picks until they are available. But I will say this, because this was a 6-goal game, which was to set the over under. My prediction of going over is technically a push. So I am now 2-1-1 on my betting picks this season.
Yeah.
I'm
I was at, what did I think? 4-2 Coyotes. That turned out to be very, very wrong. I still do not know how the Oilers were able to just shut down the offense.
no,
Uh, but that needs to be a thing. Like, this is the kind of game, like there are burn the tape games where you just ignore it. This is not that. This is a rallying cry game. This is a, you need to show what kind of player you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of like how you're able to rebound, and that is going to be the thing. I think like scouts and GMs and assistant GMs are going to be looking at the Coyotes roster and seeing who responds on Saturday, to make potential trades, because we know that
mhm.
this team is selling. We know that they're going to be selling at the deadline. Like, these are like players who are auditioning for a spot with a cup contender, and cup contenders don't lose games like that and then lose the next game.
No,
Like, it just does not happen.
exactly. And let's also say this too. That this not only is that another reason why the next game is important, but again, they got after this New York game, that road trip that I mentioned,
Yeah.
Florida, Tampa, DC, Philly, and Anaheim. Obviously, Anaheim is the one where you could probably take a win out of that, but that road trip And I also joked this around with Craig Morgan. He was just about 15 feet from me, just right over here. He was like, "Yeah, that's a toss-up game." And I'm just like, "Well, if Martin Jones is starting in that, maybe they have a shot." But other than that, like, let's be real, that is a hard road trip.
Yeah, it is not getting any easier at this point. And this was honestly a pretty easy start for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
Buffalo Sabres, not a good team. St. Louis Blues, I was talking to my sister before the game. That was a very winnable game, except for that 5 minutes. Edmonton Oilers should have been the game the Coyotes won, and they did not. So they need to start doing something, because if they keep losing, that they are going to that's going to be a tough hole. This needs to be a team that needs to be motivated, and I am not blaming Bear for this at all. But as the coach, for a rebuilding team, I would like to see the front office do something to motivate this team, because they're the ones who are going to need to keep positive energy. They need to make sure that this team knows that hey, we're doing bad, but we're gonna improve. That is what a rebuild is about. Steadily improving and developing players and everything. We need something.
At what point in the season does Bill Armstrong do a team meeting?
Honestly, I do not think Armstrong is the one to do a team meeting. I think that this needs to be
Players
from the
only.
player level.
It'll be a players only meeting. At what point do you see that happening?
Honestly, did it happen tonight?
There's a chance it could have.
It could have. It should happen tonight. If it doesn't, it needs to happen with a loss tomorrow or on the Saturday, because this is just a incredible poor start for our team, and I do not have over expectations for this team. I have predicted that they're going to finish in the bottom 5 of the league, but I need them to give something a bit more. I need them to be motivated on some level, because sure, a lot of these guys aren't going to be with the team next year. A lot of them aren't going to be with the team 2 years from now, but there are some that are, and they need to build the right atmosphere, the right culture of this team. It's a rebuild, and rebuilds happen in hockey, and you need to do them the right way.
I think back to my mailbag I had back in August when when the rebuild was first officially kicking in, and someone asked me, how do you build a winning culture or when you're rebuilding? And to me, I'm like, okay, obviously you can't have a quote winning culture, but you still want that winning mentality culture, and that is a team that has fun. Right now it looks like the case.
Yeah.
It looks like there's just I don't know what to call it. And that's the key. You want to be able to have a team that has fun on the ice, to build for the future. And right now they're not doing that.
Yeah, teams have cultures. They have atmospheres in the locker room. They need to have something, because these guys are playing for something. They are all playing for either their contract next year, or if nothing else, to have their careers end on a high point. Do you really want does Jay Beagle or Louis Erickson or anyone want their last season to be this, a 5-1 loss to a weak Oilers team that they could have done something against? Nobody wants that.
No one indeed wants that. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to make your prediction for Saturday's game. What do you got?
This is tough because I do not know too much about the Islanders. We didn't play them last season. I need to research them more. This needs to be a game where the Coyotes win. I expect it to also be a much tighter game. I think they'll be doing some back skates tomorrow. I'm gonna go with a classic hockey score. I'm going 2-1 Coyotes.
2-1
And that,
Coyotes.
yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be a little bit similar to you, but I have a little bit more high scoring than that. I'm gonna go 3-2 Coyotes. And again, this is they and we both think that they really need a win. It's gonna be really tough. They're to get that mentality, but again, they really need that win.
Yeah. It's, if nothing else, this is a show me what you are as a player, as a person. Do you shrink from this like horrible situation you're in, or do you like stand up and put up a fight? And I think this needs to be the moment where like they stand up and they're gonna say, nope, we're done. We've dropped 4 in a row to start the season. We're bad, but we're not this bad. We're gonna finally take control of this thing to the best extent and pull out a win because they need it desperately going into a road trip.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we're running out of time here for this episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, leave a comment, leave a like. We are available everywhere you get your podcast, including YouTube, where we are doing this this live stream, this live post game show. Myself from Gila River Arena. Thanks to the Arizona Coyotes for hosting me today. It was fantastic being here. Thanks to all you who are out there who are listening to this or watching this. Again, don't forget to subscribe though if you have yet to already. Interact with us on social media. We are at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn1. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask us a question. We might answer them right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. But again, that is it for us today for this Locked On Coyotes podcast. And we will be back at the beginning of next week because this is the end of the week for us. But until then, guys, be sure to stay safe, be sure to stay healthy, and don't forget